Hello, movie fans, and welcome to Real Movie Talk. This is the show where we talk everything movies and the industry that surrounds them. I'm your host, Deck, and with me, as always, is Ben.
I'm Ben, and welcome to this episode.
This is episode 3 of Real Movie Talks. These are coming along quite nicely. We're now 3 episodes in, and they seem to be doing okay. You guys seem to be enjoying them, so let's just keep them going. So, again, we're going to jump straight into the news this week, and we've got quite a lot of news and also quite a lot of trailers to discuss as well. Obviously, New York Comic Con is kind of going on at the moment. So we may miss a couple of things from Comic Con, and we may have missed a couple of things from the past week in general, because there was a lot. But I feel like I've managed to get the most important stuff to discuss. So firstly, Ansel Elgort has been cast in Steven Spielberg's upcoming West Side Story adaptation as Tony, which is the lead male role. I'm in love with this idea.
Yeah, I think it's the absolute perfect casting. I was over the moon when I saw this announcement like earlier this week. I was like, "Is Tony like?" I could see no other person right now in Hollywood who's an actor around that age doing it. Like, seriously, it's perfect. Like, you think so?
Yeah, I think it's amazing casting. Sorry. I love Ansel Elgort. Like, I have no shame in saying Baby Driver is one of my favorite films of last year. It was probably my number 2, and I loved Ansel Elgort, and everything he's done. Although I think it took him a while to kind of get to the right sort of films for him to do, because he was kind of stuck in that young adult kind of, film genre for quite some time. Once he got Baby Driver, he's now starting to move out and expand a little bit more. And I think this is a really awesome choice. Also, West Side Story is such an incredible musical. I'm a huge fan of that story, so to see him take on this particular role is very exciting for me. I'm just very interested now to see who they cast in the female lead role, to who's going to play off of him, because obviously that is going to be crucial. But I'm so happy about this. It looks pitch perfect to me. Like, it's just, he has that look. He can sing. We know that. I think he's a fantastic actor, but he can also do the emotional stuff really well. So I feel like he's going to be an excellent choice for this role. Also, obviously, just in general, Steven Spielberg's directing this. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell you a good thing, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love West Side Story. I love the film. I haven't seen the Broadway or like West End versions, but you know, it's a classic. It's a an amazing film, and I just love it. And I don't think I'm that skeptical about going into it. I think normally going into remakes, I'm like, don't know about this, but with it being Steven Spielberg, him trying something new, he hasn't really like done a musical as far as I can remember, or he's done like one. I don't really particularly remember. But being under his reigns and having Ansel Elgort as Tony just sounds perfect. So I'm just like over the moon right now.
Yeah, I think it sounds fantastic. And I don't know when this movie's coming out. I'm guessing maybe next year. But I'm totally down for that. So, yeah, 100% gets the vote from both of us. We've got some more interesting news, which was very exciting for a lot of budding movie makers, which is that James Wan and New Line are set to develop a new horror competition reality TV series, which is going to be called Night Vision. And it's a, like I say, reality TV show in which the winner of the show will receive a movie development deal with New Line. That is such a good idea. I think this is fantastic. And obviously, James Wan, we all know him pretty much from a horror background. He started to expand out recently in Furious 7. He's obviously doing Aquaman. But I think this is a fantastic idea for like young filmmakers who, or not even necessarily young filmmakers, but just filmmakers in general who, want to get into it professionally. And if they take part in this show, they will be able to get a development deal with New Line. I think that's a really amazing opportunity. And obviously, this is mostly going to be taking place in the US, but I think it's such a good idea. If they could expand this out more, this could, get a lot of young filmmakers to actually show their talents, and we could get some really amazing things out of this.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna try and enter it because
Yeah.
that's like the best thing. And I love horror films, and I'm right now like working on a horror film myself, but not like a sort of mainstream type horror. But it's just a short, and I think it's perfect. I we're gonna talk about something later, as in regards to The Conjuring, and it just excites me so much that James Wan and New Line are like not just going back to the same old people, and just bringing in. different talent, people that aspire to be like these guys, be like James Wan, be like, the upcoming directors like Ari Aster, who directed Hereditary. These new people, we need them, and the perfect chance for all these other people that have the skills but don't have the way to get through potentially.
Yeah, I think it's such an incredible idea. Just the idea of actually taking a reality TV series so focused on film, and we don't quite know what the structure of this game show is going to be and how it's going to play out in terms of how the actual episodes will play out and what have you. But just the idea of actually the winner being given the chance to make their own film, their own feature film, is really exciting. And like I say, I think there's going to be so many people out there, these undiscovered talents who are going to be able to break through and actually show the world what they can do and what they can make, what they're made of. And it's just a really nice way to get these fresh faces onto the scene, and they could present some really fun and fresh ideas that we've never seen before. And especially with the horror genre, which has a lot of experimentation that comes with it, there's a lot to play with there. And I think this is such a great idea, and I'm completely down for this. I can't wait to see when this comes out, because this is going to be fantastic, and then to see where the winner goes from there is going to be very, very exciting.
I'm just so excited. I just want to find out when I can enter.
Well, you just have to keep your eyes out for that one. And then sticking with The Conjuring, we have the director for The Conjuring 3, which is Michael Chaves. Now, this was news because James Wan is not going to be directing this one. He is going to be stepping back into a producer role, but Michael Chaves is going to be stepping into the director's chair. I'm not too familiar with his work. I don't know if you are.
The short film, basically, James Wan found him, and he's directing the new film, The Curse of La Llorona, and apparently it looks really good from the Comic-Con footage people saw. And it's got like Linda Cardellini, who I loved in the new film Green Book. So I'm super excited for his new horror film that's coming out very soon. And it's obviously produced by James Wan. And that's the link. And so I really like his short film. It's very experimental. And I think it's good that James Wan is letting these new guys come through and giving them more chances. Same thing goes for like the director of The Nun. Yes, The Nun is not a great film. It's pretty good, but you can see the direction and the sort of behind the direction of the film. You can admire that, and you can see that Corin Hardy, who directed it, is an upcoming really good filmmaker. And obviously he directed one before then, but I love that James Wan is, again, just giving these people more chances. And yeah, I think it's good. At one point, you got to step away from what made you what baby, basically, because he created the Conjuring universe. Now he's letting all these new directors come and, bring it in their own different ways, which I find very interesting and exciting.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome that he is giving this guy the opportunity. He kind of discovered him from doing this short film, and is giving them, the reins to his, like you say, his baby. Although James Wan has never, he didn't direct any of the spin-offs, did he? He just directed the mainline films. But again,
The Conjuring and
yeah,
Conjuring 2.
Conjuring 2, yeah. So he's kind of done some lending off before, but to give it, especially because this is, no offense to Michael Chaves, but such a almost unexperienced film director, to give him the reins of a very successful franchise is ballsy. But I feel like, again, with the horror franchise, there's so much you can do with that, and there's so much experimentation. Like you say, this short film that he's made is supposedly very experimental, so I think that's a good sign for The Conjuring 3. So this is definitely a good move, I think, and I'm definitely interested to see where they go, because anytime a new filmmaker comes on the scene, anytime we have like a new director, I'm always really excited to see what they can do. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's always good just to give these guys the opportunity. So I'm definitely down for this, and as long as James Wan's still producing, he's still got his hands on the project, so I'm sure it'll steer all right. And we were talking last week about the upcoming sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which is called Death on the Nile. And we were talking about how Gal Gadot has been cast in that movie. And we were kind of discussing and speculating about who else could be joining this cast. And we have another new casting. Armie Hammer has officially joined and signed on to the film. And this is really exciting because, as we were discussing earlier, there is so many amazing cast members who were in Murder on the Orient Express. It was like a full-on star-studded cast, and it looks like they're doing the exact same here with Death on the Nile. We can see that obviously Kevin Branagh will be returning as Hercule Poirot, and we also have Gal Gadot, who's already on the cast. And now we have Armie Hammer, who was, of course, coming hot off Call Me By Your Name last year. This is a big name at the moment. I think Armie Hammer is a real talent as well. I've been a big fan of him even before films like Call Me By Your Name. Like, he was in a fantastic film in 2015 that nobody really talked about, which was called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was kind of like Henry Cavill's other big film outside of Man of Steel. It's a great film, and then going from that to Call Me By Your Name, and now he's going to be appearing on Death on the Nile. I think this is a great casting choice, and just this ever-expanding cast for this film is so exciting just because of how broad and how, star-studded it is, and I just think it's going to be a great sequel to the already good first film.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this casting because, again, I loved Call Me By Your Name. I think Armie Hammer is definitely up there. He was in like The Social Networks and various other films. Also, he was in Free Fire, which I really enjoyed.
That's a good film, yeah.
So I think this is like the perfect casting. Like Kenneth Branagh, great director, obviously because it's a sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which I personally really loved. I thought it was a great detective story that obviously leans more to the traditional detective fiction from Agatha Christie, which it's based off of. And I think Armie Hammer is just like, I don't know, you can't really get like that's really well known and as well respected right now because he's done some very good films. So around his age, obviously there's so many good actors, but and this is just perfect, along with like Gal Gadot and everyone else in the film.
Yeah, I think this is just a great addition. Like I say, just adding more members to this cast is really, really exciting. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on this one, and I'm sure we all will. So it's going to be pretty cool in the long run. Now, moving over to the world of DC, or the DCEU, we have some word on the Deathstroke movie, which was announced a while back. And this is regarding the director who was being talked into doing this movie, that being Gareth Evans, who you'll know is the director of the Raid films. He has said that talks regarding a Deathstroke film haven't went far beyond the initial conversations, and he has not heard anything regarding the film for a really long time. So, given what he is saying here, this suggests that this Deathstroke movie is not on the cards really for DC. It's not what they are looking to do in their upcoming slate. Obviously, we know we've got Aquaman coming up, we've got Shazam, we've got Wonder Woman 1984, we also got Birds of Prey, which seems to be coming along nicely. And that's pretty much all we kind of know about. Also, the Batman script has kind of been handed in, apparently. So, this Deathstroke movie, which was announced just randomly out of the blue a few months ago, it seems to be on the back burner, which I'm not really surprised by this, are you?
Not entirely surprised, but I think I don't have a big problem with it not being done right now, but I think it should be done because Gareth Evans is a great director. I really love the Raid films. I think that some of the best action films I've seen ever, like seriously. And I think the idea that they would postpone something like this is understandable because they're doing character building in these different films right now. We've got Aquaman, we've got the new Wonder Woman film, we've got Shazam, then we got Joker film. Obviously, it's separate. It's character films, and they're doing sort of the bigger characters right now, like the heroes. And then I think we got around to that Deathstroke film after and potentially made it more of a sort of hardcore 15 R-rated wherever you are in the world, like the Raid, because Deathstroke is a hardcore character when you go to the roots of it. And I think having Gareth Evans on board is a no-brainer. You have to have that at some point, surely.
I mean, if they did a Deathstroke movie, I would be so excited because Deathstroke is honestly one of my favorite DC Comics characters. Because I have quite a lot of history in saying that I do not like the idea of random spin-offs. I just think they're really annoying and just obvious cash grabs. DC is one of the biggest, victims when it comes to this because they just announce all this random stuff left, right, and center. And they've kind of calmed down with that recently, like sort of this year, but especially last year, they were all over the shop. But when they announced this film, I was kind of like, yeah, I'll take a Deathstroke movie, even though I was kind of annoyed. It's just because I love Deathstroke so much. And like you say, he's a very hardcore character. You know, I feel like if they were going to do a Deathstroke movie, you'd really want to go to the core of who that character is when you want to look at like the military experimentation. Because in terms of his origin story, he's kind of similar to Captain America in a way, in the sense that he does have kind of like the super serum that he was injected into. And you could go back to the roots of his original name, like Deathstroke the Terminator. That's what he was originally called back in the day. And I feel like there's a lot of potential there to kind of explore his history in the military and how he turned into this hardcore killer. I think it'd be really interesting to do that. And like I say, I think if you got Gareth Evans to direct this film, obviously director of The Raid, who, like you say, does some amazing action sequences, Deathstroke can lend himself to some fantastic action sequences too. You know, a good example of this is when you look at a scene in Arrow season 6 in episode 5 of the last season. There was a scene where Deathstroke literally just stormed this facility, and it was brilliant to watch, absolutely beautifully choreographed and so well executed from Manu Bennett, who plays Deathstroke on Arrow. And what I would like that on the big screen, because that was perfectly executed. And again, I mean, I have so many ideas for this film just because of how much I love the characters. Like, I'd love to maybe see them explore Deathstroke's children as well, like Joe, who becomes Jericho, or if they did Rose, who becomes Ravager, and there's also Grant Wilson as well. So there's quite a lot to play with this film. Will it ever happen? Maybe, but I'm not holding out much hope for this one. Even though I personally like to see it, I don't think it's entirely necessary. So the fact that it is on the back burner doesn't necessarily surprise me, and it does make sense in comparison to what else they've got going on. So, sticking with the DCEU, Rosie Perez has been cast as Renee Montoya, so we now have all of the Birds of Prey. We have them also now. We have Margot Robbie, Jenny Smollett-Bell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and now we have Rosie Perez. So, Renee Montoya is... I don't really know too much about Renee Montoya. I know she was a cop in Gotham who then goes on to become the Question at one point. So she's a very interesting character. Whether she becomes the Question is another question entirely, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But I don't really know this actress, do you?
Well, I know she's in Pineapple Express, and she was in the new TV show Rise, which I kind of liked her in. Just different things, like a few Spike Lee films, like Do the Right Thing, and a few different things like that. So she's, but not like big nowadays, if you know what I mean. Like back in the 90s, she was pretty big. But yeah, what's your thoughts on her casting?
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on the matter because I don't really know her. In terms of the look, I think it's something different than what I was expecting. I think that is definitely what they're going for with all of these castings, though, because when you look at like Journey Smollett-Bell, who was cast as Black Canary, again, very different to what you would expect for Black Canary, and again, very different to what I'd expect. I don't know how old she is, but she seems like, a bit more on the older side for Renee Montoya. But again, it completely depends on what they're going for with this film and what they're doing with this particular character. So I don't really have an opinion. Like I said, it was a little bit different than what I was expecting. But again, if she's perfect for the role, then she's perfect for me. So I'll take that for sure.
Yeah, so my opinion on this is when I first saw this casting, I was sort of like, I don't know about this because I'm a fan of the Question, and the Question I've been brought up reading and seeing on the animated shows is a younger person. So right now I don't know about this casting. It could work, it could not work, but for me, I'm used to the younger version, so I'm a bit on the edge right now. But she's over 50 years old, the actress, and for this, and I'm open for all that's going to be happening. It's changes from the comics, which I'm always open to, but so we'll have to wait and see until we get like our first look or our first images or our first trailer, things like that, before we like start to actually comment on it, because I can't really comment on the version of the Question they're going for. So I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, the version of Renee Montoya I'm most familiar with is the version on Gotham. Even though I don't really keep up to date with Gotham, I've only really seen about half of the first season. She is in that season. So again, she's a lot younger there, and like I say, she's over 50. That's quite significantly older than what they would typically go for. But yeah, we can't really judge this. We just have to kind of wait until we see it in action to see what they're going for and what direction they're taking this. And I mean, she seems like a good actress. So again, I can't really give too much credit there because I just have to wait and see what they're going to do. So I'm completely down for this casting if it all turns out to be good. We also got our first couple of images from the upcoming Stephen King adaptation Pet Sematary, which is probably one of the more famous ones that he's ever done, like underneath it. And these look really good. These look very, very good.
I agree. I actually haven't seen the original one yet, but I've been meaning. Yeah, but I've been meaning to watch it. And fun fact, the original director, who was called Mary Lambert, actually directed an episode of Arrow last season.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, no, the images really intrigued me. I think they're good first look. I obviously know bits about the film, but it's got my attention. I've been meaning to watch this, and I'm definitely going to watch it when it comes out. And yeah, it just really intrigues me.
Yeah, it looks really creepy. It looks really kind of eerie. So it's difficult to predict because again, I don't really know much about Pet Sematary. I haven't seen the original. I don't really particularly know too much about the story itself. But I do know for a lot of people it is a very, very creepy film. So, and these images do reflect that, and especially because I feel like Stephen King is really getting on a good roll now in terms of well, not him necessarily, but the films that are being adapted from his work are getting a lot better with It, and now we're getting It Chapter 2, and there was also Gerald's Game on Netflix last year, so there's quite a lot that they are sort of getting right, so I have a good feeling about this one. Also, Chris Evans, who you'll of course know from playing Captain America in the MCU, has been causing a bit of trouble on Twitter this week and causing a bit of an uproar in terms of emotion with the fans because he has released a certain tweet that people have been going crazy about, and I'll read it out to you now. And it goes as follows. Officially wrapped on Avengers 4. It was an emotional day to say the least. Playing this role over the last 8 years has been an honour. To everyone in front of and behind the camera and in the audience, thank you for the memories, eternally grateful. So this is obviously Chris Evans saying that he is now finished with Avengers 4, and a lot of people are taking this as that was his final day shooting Captain America in the MCU as a whole. So a lot of people are taking that as Captain America is going to die in Avengers 4. What do you think this means? How are you taking this?
I'm kind of split. I think I have this feeling inside of me that he's now, but I don't think Captain America is going to die. I think Chris is just going to step away, do some other stuff, as we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to kill him off. I think that'll be too much of a middle finger to the fans, and for such a long time that this tweet, which was really nice actually, is just a way to tell them before rather than just be like, oh, I'm out of here. I think it's just like a pre-warning.
Yeah, I think it's just a really nice kind of sentimental tweet from Chris Evans, who, from what I see of him, he seems like one of those lovely people in the world. So to me, this seems very much of his character. Now, in regards to his actual character of Captain America, I don't know what's going to happen to him in Avengers 4. I didn't think he was going to die in Infinity War just because he didn't really have that much of a substantial role in that film as much as I thought he was going to. Now, whether he dies in Avengers 4, I think there's definitely a high possibility given if they stick to the comic storyline, because even though they kind of delayed the Captain America death, from what it was in the comics, he dies immediately after Civil War in the comics, whereas in this he's kind of going a bit longer. I feel like there is still wiggle room there to kill him in Avengers 4 if they wanted to. And especially because Captain America can exist in the MCU as a mantle. Obviously, we have Bucky Barnes, who played by Sebastian Stan. And Sebastian Stan is on a 9-picture deal with Marvel. And he's only done like 4 at this point, maybe 5. So he's still got a lot of movies to do. And that does get my mind thinking that maybe you've got another Captain America trilogy in there, maybe, with him. And obviously you've got Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie as Falcon, who could also take up the mantle, who's done it in the comics too. So, whether he dies or steps away, I don't know. I'd like to see him step away rather than die. I wouldn't, just because I feel like Captain America, he's gone through such a journey, he's gone through such an arc, especially after the Winter Soldier to now. He's gone through such a defined arc as a character to see him die would almost feel like you say, a middle finger to the fans, and also a middle finger to the entire character, I think, given how far he's come at this point. But also, it seems like if anyone's going to die, it would seem to be Captain America, unless they do kill Iron Man, which would be ballsy. But it's very difficult to predict, these deaths, because I actually thought Iron Man was going to die in Infinity War, especially in the film when he has that fight with Thanos on Titan and he stabs him. I was like, and like blood's pouring out of his mouth. I was like, oh, Tony's dead. But he miraculously made it out of that. So I feel like this is purely, Chris Evans partly trolling, but also just saying how amazing this opportunity's been and, the journey he's come. And I feel like whether he dies or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like you can't take too much information from this. I think a lot of people are looking way too hard into this.
I agree. I think they're digging too far. I don't think it's him saying, "Oh, I'm going to die" in the film. I think it's something more than that.
Yeah. I think it's just, a simple thankful letter to everyone who helped him get this far and basically provided him with his career, essentially. And sticking with Chris Evans, this news came out pretty much immediately after this tweet came out. He has joined the upcoming film Knives Out, which is being directed by Rian Johnson, who you'll of course know is the director of Star Wars The Last Jedi, alongside his co-star Daniel Craig. So this is a kind of action film, and obviously when they had Daniel Craig on there, great choice. And now we have Chris Evans, who seems to be instantly expanding out into a different film post-MCU. So I think this is great. This film I'm going to be keeping my eye out on this one for sure, because it seems to be shaping up to be really interesting. And as far as Rian Johnson goes, I liked The Last Jedi a lot, so I'm quite happy to see him take on another film that's not necessarily Star Wars. So I think this sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm actually super excited for this because I'm a big Rian Johnson fan. As you know, I love The Last Jedi. And also I love Brick, his first film. And there was also Looper, which is really good. So I'm a big fan of him. And anything he does, sign me up. I'm there. And seeing that Chris Evans is joining and you have Daniel Craig. And this is a murder mystery. Like, you don't really get that many murder mysteries in cinemas nowadays. Anything mystery and anything that's sort of like a bit like a detective film, I'm there because I love detective stuff. I love mysteries, and this team up with Chris and Ryan just seems like the perfect way for Chris to actually progress past just being Captain America. Obviously, he's done other roles that he's been very good in, but I think this is like the next step, and I think it's great for Rian Johnson as well.
Yeah, I think Rian Johnson kind of needs something to kind of distract people from the whole Star Wars thing, because even though that whole Star Wars debacle has been blown way out of proportion at this point, obviously whether he will get that trilogy he was promised is a different question. I don't know if Disney will maybe want to take a chance on that anymore, just because The Last Jedi burned them quite badly. But yeah, in regards to this film, I think it looks fantastic, or it sounds fantastic, and these cast members, the story, Rian Johnson at the helm, this is exciting. I think it's really cool. And also we have some potential news regarding Avengers 4 itself, which is that the title could be Avengers Annihilation. Now, this comes from a rumor that was stirring up a couple of days ago, and Mark Ruffalo, who plays Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, went on to, was it Jimmy Fallon? Yeah, it was Jimmy Fallon. And supposedly confirmed the name of Avengers 4. If you watch the clip online, you can see him say it, but it is bleeped out on the clip. Obviously, he did say it live. Now, personally, I think this is a complete marketing ploy. I think this is a complete troll from the Russo brothers, especially because they tweeted him afterwards saying that he's fired. So I think this is a complete marketing thing. Although I think Avengers Annihilation is a pretty cool title, and it is pretty scary, which is what they said they were going for. Like, I just don't really feel like this isn't the way to do it. This isn't how they would do it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know where everyone got Annihilation from. It doesn't look like he's saying anything like that. I've been like trying to find the reasoning behind why everyone's saying it's Annihilation, covered with a black I don't know thing from the computer, and they bleep everything, and it's just a sketch. It's for comedy, and it's to get everyone talking about this. And it could be Annihilation. I think it's a good title, but that apparently sources say that he said that, but I think this was all just a ploy for them to get some publicity, and it was just a comedy thing. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, like I say, I think the title of Avengers 4, I think to be honest, it's going to be underwhelming no matter what, just because of how much it's been built up. But we should get it towards the end of the year. The Russo brothers did say that we would get it in between the end of 2018 and also the Captain Marvel trailer. So obviously we've gotten the Captain Marvel trailer. We discussed that in our first episode. So we're sort of in that period now where we're just kind of waiting for it. So I'm sure we'll get it soon enough. Could it be Avengers Annihilation? Maybe, but especially after now, I definitely don't think so. I think it's an entire marketing thing. It's just purely to get some buzz surrounding the movie. Not that it needs it, but, I feel like this is just a complete joke, to be honest. So I wouldn't take it too seriously. And we also have quite a few trailers to discuss. The first one I want to talk about is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Wow. I mean, this looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I'm excited for it. I'm not like super excited because the animation. I think that's the most appealing part to it for me. I just don't really have like a strong connection to him because I haven't seen or read Miles Morales in the comics. To Parker very well, but I don't know him, so I'm excited. I think the trailers are really good, and I've been loving it. And also the thing at the end of spoilers, got me even more excited. So I'm very excited, but I'm not like super anticipating it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had my eye on this film quite a while, mainly because I think the directors and the writers are obviously fantastic. It's Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who, after being, in air quotes, fired from Solo, went on to do this. And I think it's just a really interesting idea to do a animated Spider-Man movie that doesn't focus on Peter Parker, because obviously we've had that so many times. And one of the things that was great about Spider-Man Homecoming in the MCU is how they kind of did a lot of fresh ideas. They did characters that we're not really used to seeing, and they didn't do the origin story. Whereas here we're getting a look on Miles Morales, who is a very interesting, different version of Spider-Man. And again, I haven't read much Miles Morales. I don't really know him too much myself. Most recently, I know him from the Spider-Man PS4 game, which I think he's a fantastic character in that. So that has got me quite excited about this. But other things that get me really excited is just seeing all the other versions of Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man Noir is in this, who's being played by Nicolas Cage. Amazing. And then you also have Spider-Gwen being played by Haley Steinfeld. Spider-Ham is in this, which is just brilliant. And I think it just looks really funny. Like, the trailer really had me cracking up. I think it just looks fantastic in terms of its writing. The animation style, like you mentioned, is stunning. Like, it's a very unique animation style. I haven't really seen anything like it before. It's kind of like a weird cross between kind of DreamWorks and then being cel shaded at the same time. It's a really weird thing to describe, but I think it looks beautiful. And yeah, as we mentioned earlier, there is a post-credit scene at the end of Venom, which does show the first. Well, I don't think it's the first 5 minutes, but you get to see 5 minutes of the film, and I was very, very impressed. So I'm super excited about this, and this trailer really just had me going. So I'll take this. I'll definitely take this anytime. And then we also got a trailer for a film which, I mean, I was excited about this beforehand, but after the trailer, I just lost it. Vice. Oh my good god, does this look brilliant?
Yeah, I'm so excited for this. I think Christian Bale looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Changed. He does this in most of his roles, and I think he's gonna put on like one of the best performances of the year. It looks so good, and the supporting cast. You got Steve Carell. He's got a massive streak going on right now. He's got Beautiful Boy. He's got the new Robert Zemeckis film. He's got lots of different things going on for him. So that's very exciting. And also, we've got what's his name from Three Billboards.
Sam Rockwell.
I totally forgot his name. I loved him in Three
Yeah,
Billboards. I
me
thought he was
too.
really good, and he's a really great actor. So this whole cast and the idea of what it gave away, it just excites me so much. I think this is going to be like a top-notch film. Yeah.
Yeah. I was absolutely blown away by this trailer. It just has this really nice vibe about it, which I've seen a lot of people complain about, that saying, like, it's kind of painting Dick Cheney to be like this cool, kind of, sophisticated kind of guy. But I don't really see it that way. I think that this trailer really just shows what they're going for, and it really gives you a good vision of how they're going to present this story, because it's really, an evil guy, but you have to kind of present it in a way that is approachable for audiences, because if you just do it from a perspective where it's so evil and so downtrodden, people aren't going to be excited about it, people aren't going to be wanting to go see it. So you have to kind of present it in a way that's approachable, and I feel like that's what this trailer does really well. And again, Christian Bale, I mean, goes without saying, amazing actor. He has obviously done so many things, and just seeing him in this role where he's completely transformed his body once again, it amazes me. I mean, surely he must be ill so much due to how much his body changes. Like when you look at him in, like, say, like The Machinist, he went from that, where he was basically anorexic, to Batman Begins, where he's completely bulked up. I mean, that couldn't have been fun. And now for this, he's like extremely fat and bold. So, you can't knock the guy for being committed, because he is wonderful. And like, I just think he gets lost in this role. Like he's unrecognizable as Christian Bale, very much in the same sense that Gary Oldman was unrecognizable in Darkest Hour. It's very much a similar thing. But I think he looks fantastic. And yeah, Sam Rockwell, who I love so much, especially coming off of 3 Billboards, where he completely sweeped awards season, I feel like he's going to do quite a lot here, especially because he's playing George W. Bush as well. So that's a very good role for him. And yes, Steve Carell, who is really on a good run at the moment with a lot more dramatic roles. Like, he's got that Welcome to Marwin, he has got Beautiful Boy. I really loved him in Battle of the Sexes last year. There's a lot of really good stuff going on with Steve Carell, and this looks to be another awesome role for him. So I am so excited about this. This has got to be one of my most anticipated. I don't know if this is coming out this year or next year here in the UK. I can't quite remember, but either way, count me in. And also, New York Comic Con is currently going on, and we got a full 5-minute trailer for Aquaman, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but it did get me pretty excited, I won't lie.
I think the trailer was really good. I'm very excited to see the film. I think the cinematography was like the standout from the trailer. I think it looks really beautiful, and I'm kind of wanting to see the film right now. I think James Wan is a brilliant director, and I think the idea that they would go for a 5-minute trailer is just like finger to everything else. I just think it's so different, and it was a very good marketing tactic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it looks really stunning, and what impressed me most about it is that it actually looks colourful. Like, it actually has some life in it, which a lot of DC films have been lacking. It doesn't really have that much colour, or have this good lookingness to it. But Aquaman really has all these beautiful colours. Like that shot where it shows the DC logo, but it goes over like that aqua blue sea, is beautiful, absolutely stunning, and I really love that. So there's just so much going on with this as well. Like all the performances, like I really like Jason Momoa as Aquaman, who was one of the best things about Justice League in my opinion. So taking him, and he seems to be doing a great job here. Also, Amber Heard as Mira looks insane. Like, she is so good. And this trailer really gave you a good idea of how the action sequences are going to play both inland and below the sea. Like, there's that awesome rooftop chase scene with Black Manta, who looks incredible. That fight scene where they're just running across the rooftop, everything's exploding, like they're just trying to run across, trying to survive. Very, very cool. And even below the surface, when you see the fight between Aquaman and Orm, where they're going to be fighting, and because that's one thing I was kind of worried about, is how they're going to handle the underwater sequences. But it seems to be very cool and very interesting, very different. So I completely have faith in James Wan at this point. Also, we got our first look at Dolph Lundgren as well, who looks incredible. So I think this is a very exciting trailer. I was surprised we got 5 minutes of it. I was quite surprised by that, but I think it does give you a very good taste of what to expect from the film. And yeah, now I'm ready for it. I'm completely ready for it and hyped. Give me Aquaman now. So we are now going to move into our reviews. So we have a couple to go through first. I want to start off with Venom. So Venom is obviously quite a funny situation in the sense that in the run-up to this film, this almost became a bit of a joke. This film was almost becoming a bit of a meme. So it's very interesting now that this film has finally arrived. But what are your overall thoughts on Venom?
So Venom, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny, and I don't know what people were talking about. Oh, I don't know if it was written this way. It was written as a comedy. It is all about that central relationship between Eddie and Venom, and Tom Hardy is just brilliant. And the thing that I had the problem is the supporting characters. I don't think they're built up at all. I think Riz Ahmed's a great actor. I love him in Four Lions and various other things, but he's just not written well. And also, Michelle Williams' character is a waste. I'm a big fan of her. I loved her last year in Ridley Scott's film. And like the problem with the film is the supporting characters, but overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5, only due to the fact that I enjoyed it so much. It was a very enjoyable, and it's also a bit of a mess. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think this film is definitely a mess. I think it's very, very messy all over the place. Um, I had fun with it. I think there are a lot of enjoyable moments within, but I can't ignore the flaws in this film because there is so many. Um, I will say positives though. I think Tom Hardy is fantastic. Like without him, I think this movie would have completely fallen apart because his performance is so captivating. He almost does disappear into the character of Eddie Brock because of how different he plays it. 'Cause it's very dependent on his voice and his mannerisms, which Tom Hardy is very good with voices. You know, we've known that ever since he first sort of came onto the scene when he played Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, and now seeing him here as Venom and as Eddie Brock, because he does also voice Venom as well, which is very funny because they play off of each other so well. So it's basically Tom Hardy playing off of himself, which is very interesting and definitely fun to see. And yeah, the central relationship between them two I find very entertaining because there's a lot of funny dialogue that comes with it. Some of the dialogue is a bit crap. Some of it's a bit weak, and some of it does come across as a bit, trying too hard at points. But for the most part, I think it's a very entertaining relationship, and even the arc that these two characters go through, learning to kind of accept each other, is something I didn't really expect. But I think it was actually pretty well executed and done in quite a subtle way. So I will give them that. But also for me, there are just a lot of flaws to kind of go through. Like you say, the supporting characters is a real weak point. Like Michelle Williams, completely wasted. She's such an amazing actress, so just to see a sideline like this is really, really quite sad. She does have a really good moment, which I won't spoil. She does have a really good moment, but other than that, yeah, she's completely sidelined, and I found that disappointing. And Riz Ahmed as the villain, I don't know what they were going for there. I don't understand why they made certain choices, because obviously you guys know from the trailer he plays the symbiote Riot as well, and while that's fine, I kind of expected a symbiote on symbiote fight for this film just because it is the first one in the supposed trilogy. When it's just he plays a character called Carlton Drake, and when it's just Carlton Drake, like in the first half of the film, he's very subdued and very quiet, and I guess it's supposed to be intimidating, but it never really is. And then in the back half, he kind of flips it over to being very loud and abrasive. And I don't understand where the defining moment was there, because it never really clicks. And neither one of them is intimidating, so I don't understand quite what they were going for with this character. And Riz Ahmed seems incredibly miscast here. He kind of seems a bit lost and a bit out of touch with the rest of the movie. So, yeah, they were really strange for me. They were really strange choices. And then also for me, I think the CGI is good at times and then really weak in others. Like the Venom versus Riot fight at the end is all over the shop. Like you can't even see which character is which a lot of the time, which is really distracting. But then there's like the scene where you would have seen this clip released online where Venom takes on a bunch of SWAT guys. That was really good. I think that's a really awesome scene and really representative of Venom's powers and things like that. But yeah, this movie's a bit all over the shop for me.
Quickly, in regards to the CGI, I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought it was better than the Black Panther CGI. I thought that was absolute crap in Black Panther. So compared to that, I was like, this is pretty good. I think overall it was good, especially in like the standing shots of Venom. It's just like a few of the shots when he's jumping all over the place is a bit weak. I was convinced.
I mean, I don't want to come across as if I'm like downtrodden on this movie, because this movie is nowhere near as bad as people were saying it was. Before I saw this film, I saw quotes such as, "Oh, it's as bad as Catwoman," and fantastic and Batman and Robin. It's nowhere near those films. Nowhere near close. This film has a lot of enjoyable moments in it. I think you can definitely go watch it and have fun with it. Especially when you talk about general audience members as well. I don't think, because obviously me and you were a bit more critical on things, but, general audience members I think are really going to enjoy this. Like, I went to go see this with a friend of mine who's a big Marvel fan. He loves Marvel movies, and he loves Venom as a character, and he absolutely loved it. So I think, for general audiences, I think this movie is going to please a lot of people, and it's making a lot of money, so I feel like this film has definitely got an audience, and it's found its audience. So yeah, I feel like this film is definitely, it shouldn't get the hate it's been getting, because it is better than that, and I feel like it's a bit harsh on the movie. And I had a good time with it. I did enjoy it. I just found it to be quite messy and all over the place at many, many points. And also, I do want to say, no spoilers here, but the post-credit scene did get me very excited. I just kind of wish that that character that shows up would have been in the film originally.
They didn't show up. I'm just excited. I want another one because of Tom Hardy, how good he was and how enjoyable he was. And I think with the post-credit scene in the end and the actor playing that character,
yeah, there's just it's really exciting, especially because that actor is so good. I kind of want to skate. I'm kind of trying to skate around it, but yeah, it's very exciting. I just kind of think that's a missed opportunity that they didn't do that in the film. So anyway, what are your overall thoughts though in terms of this Sony universe of Marvel characters that they're doing? Like, do you want to see? Because obviously we know Tom Hardy has been set up for a 3-film picture deal, so there is supposedly a Venom trilogy coming, which at first I was like, that's not going to happen, but given how much money it's making, I think it may be on the cards. I think we can see an announcement coming within the next week or two regarding a Venom 2. But what about the other films? Like, the next one coming out is Morbius the Living Vampire, who's going to be played by Jared Leto. Like, are you excited about that?
I'm excited about the sequel to Venom. I'm excited about their universe. I don't know anything about Morbius. I like Jared Leto as an actor. Don't like him in Suicide Squad. But see this universe build. It's only the first film. I think we shouldn't say, oh, it's over because say some people didn't like the film. I think it's definitely.
I just find it really strange that Sony are doing this again, especially because they failed so badly the first time. I feel like with this, they really want to kind of get it right. And though we both enjoyed Venom, I think that it's not the strongest foot to start out with. But again, there is room to improve. And Morbius being the next one, I have to admit, I'm not excited about it at all. I think it's a terrible idea. I think Jared Leto is a really poor choice. Even though I think Jared Leto can be really good at points, I feel like him as a method actor, he goes way too far. I think there is a line, and I feel like he is a bit too far, especially when he was playing the Joker in Suicide Squad. I think he completely crossed the line. But then, he does films like when he did Blade Runner 2049, and he basically made himself blind because his character was blind in that movie. I think that's good. I think that was, that's good, and he's great in that film. So, I think Sony, they just need to tread lightly, make sure they think things through, because there are some really cool ideas that they played with, like Kraven the Hunter, who they've got planned. That's cool, although I probably would rather see that in the MCU, to be honest, but whatever. Silk, that's one I really want to see. That is the Asian female Spider-Man. I really want to see that. That's awesome. And they've also got Silver and Black, which is, they're doing a Black Cat and a Silver Sable movie, and then maybe a Silver and Black movie, so that is a cool idea as well. It's just, for some reason, Morbius doesn't quite jive with me. But I think Venom gives good enough foundations, but I'd much rather see a Venom sequel than any other film in this potential universe. So, is that all you want to say on Venom?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we'll now move over to our other review, which I'm so excited to discuss, and that is A Star is Born. Oh, wow. I mean, I'm just going to say this straight off the bat. This is my favourite film of the year so far. I doubt anything's going to top it. I feel like there are a couple of competitions. Like, I think First Man might put up a good fight there. But for me, this film absolutely floored me. Like, this film is beautiful on all levels.
Yeah, I agree. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite films of the year. It's got into my top 5. It's not my number 1, but I enjoyed it so much. I think Lady Gaga is definitely up for Best Actress.
Oh, for sure.
Um, Bradley Cooper, I found him so good in the film, and his directing was excellent. And this is definitely a big Oscar contender. And I was so satisfied. Like I was so pulled into their story with how they start and how, and it's like a touching a wound. It's like they slowly peel out. I don't know. It's just so touching. And by the end, with how it ends, at this specific scene, I'm not gonna lie, I started crying.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just so good.
yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, for me, I think Lady Gaga is kind of a lock, maybe, for Best Actress this year because I'm looking at other films, and obviously I haven't seen a lot of the award contenders yet because here in the UK we get them significantly later. But I can't really think of any potential Best Actress winners so
Can
far. Um, I mean, I think Amy Adams in Vice maybe put a maybe there, but for me, Lady Gaga is the instant standout, especially because she's going to be like a real kind of fan favorite. Um, and then Bradley Cooper, easily his best role for me. I mean, he escapes into this character, in terms of his look and especially his voice. It's so distinct that it's completely separate to any other character he's played before. And I've never seen him kind of tap into this side of his acting before. It's very, 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 very distinguished, and I think it's very beautiful as well. And I didn't know he could sing. Turns out he can sing very, very well. And the music is obviously a point of contention this film is really going to attract because I think this is honestly the best soundtrack since La La Land. The full soundtrack has now been released, which I've been listening to it non-stop. It's stunning. I feel like the music is going to do a lot. Like, if this film's going to win anything, it's definitely going to be through the music because it's just absolutely beautifully written and so well performed by both Cooper and Gaga. And even the supporting cast as well, like Sam Elliott cannot go unnoticed in this. Truly stunning. I mean, he's only in a couple of scenes, but he is mind-blowing and absolutely distracting. Not distracting in a bad way, but all your attention goes to him when he's on screen because he's just absolutely captivating. And I think that just the story is really well told. And even though this is the fourth iteration of this, it's still a story for me that I just find incredibly engrossing. And I think the way it all concludes, it's shocking, but also really well executed. And I think that this film, it's doing a lot. I think it's going to do a lot in terms of the Golden Globes as well. It's going to sweep the Golden Globes, no problem. And for me, this is biggest standout of the year. This is my favorite film of the year. Will anything top it? Potentially, but for me, this is definitely my number one. I cannot say enough good things about this. I've been recommending it to so many people. I've been taking so many people to see it. It's just outstanding.
Going back onto what you were saying, Sam Elliott, I think he's definitely the best supporting actor
Yeah.
of the year. I'm struggling to find many supporting actors this year. I don't think the films I've seen there haven't been that many supporting actors. It's mainly supporting actress, which my list goes on forever. But yeah, he's excellent. I so captivating in the minimal scenes he was in. And moving back to Lady Gaga and talking about like the award season, I think she is a lock, and I think Bradley Cooper's a lock as well for actor. I think he's in for director, but I think he's more in for actor. And in regards to like my predictions for the Oscars and Best Actress specifically, I think she's definitely in, but she had some hard against. She's got Toni Collette from Hereditary, who I think definitely should be in. Also, my favorite actress of the year is Thomasin McKenzie from Leave No Trace, and I think Lady Gaga's like, I don't know, it's so hard to rank them. I don't think I can rank them right now, but also you got the main actress from Roma. She's so good, and like Emily Blunt from A Quiet Place, I think she's excellent. And Ruth Wilson, Little Stranger. I don't know. I think Lady Gaga is like maybe second place on my list right now, but she's got some hard contenders, but I think she's definitely up there for getting that definite nomination, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think she's phenomenal in this. And I think going back to Bradley Cooper as well, I think there is definitely potential for him in the director standpoint. I don't think he'll win Best Director. I honestly, honestly speaking, I don't. I think he's got a lot more potential as actor. But one thing I will say about his directing is this is a brilliant directorial debut, especially the scenes where he is in concert and you're actually on the stage with him, because those scenes felt like a concert. It felt like the music was so visceral, it was so loud and very in your face, but in a way that you would want in a concert, and you could feel the guitar riffs, like you could literally feel it. And that was really well done. And I think this film, especially its audio and its sound mixing, is really fantastic. Like, it blew me away. And those scenes just added so much, especially because music is obviously such a central thing about this film. You really want to elevate it as much as you can, and I think Bradley Cooper did that with absolute style. And I think it really adds so much. Like I say, the soundtrack is outstanding, and I've been listening to it non-stop, and best soundtrack since La La Land, 100%. And for me, I really can't think of anything else that's going to top it this year. Like, this film even topped Avengers Infinity War for me, which I didn't think anything would, so I'm absolutely stunned. I could talk about this movie forever.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so well put together, and the story and the direction's excellent, and the different aspects of the music and things like that had me like cheering and sort of like rooting on for, and I was smiling the entire way until you get the twists.
Yeah.
Really smile for, but it's just excellently put together, and I think it's definitely up for soundtrack. I think I agree. It's the best soundtrack since La La Land.
Yeah, and it's funny because you weren't
sound
really
and
that...
sound editing is very good, but it ups its sound editing, but it's really good.
Yeah, and it's funny because you weren't really that into it, were you? Like, before you kind of saw the trailer, because you only watched the trailer like a week before the movie came out.
Then I watched the trailer like 40 times.
Yeah.
So I was.
That trailer absolutely gives me chills, like, especially just like the end, because that song they use, Shallow, which they released Shallow
Good.
like on the release night.
I bought it straight away.
So
I brought it straight after.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful song, and the use of it in that trailer is stunning. Like, Lady Gaga's voice, just, oh my god, like when she starts singing in that song, you just can't help but just sit there and just revel in it. But yeah, easily for me, this is the best film of the year so far. It's my personal favorite of the year, and obviously we'll probably do like a big roundup come the end of December where we'll go through the entire year. But I'm sure this is going to stay at the top for me. I don't know about you.
Definitely up there. Like I said, top 5. Honestly, it being top 5, any film being top 5 in my list is really good. I mean, they're going up to, if I look at my list, like I've been ranking the entire year, the top 10 are all 5 stars. Like, no way they could be below that. So being in my top 10 is like A star, 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 star.
Yeah. So that is A Star Is Born, and like I say, I can't recommend this movie enough. If you haven't seen this movie, go and see it, and let us know what you think about it, because this is a truly outstanding movie. So, before we close off this week's episode, I'm going to hand it over to Ben, who is going to discuss the upcoming film festival that he'll be attending. So, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so this week actually marks the start of the BFI London Film Festival, and I am seeing a shitload of films. I am watching, I think, 15 or something. So, like, I'm going to be, like, seeing all the Oscar contenders mainly. That's what film festivals are for. I'm seeing the new Coen Brothers film, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I'm seeing Suspiria twice, the new Suspiria. I'm super excited for. Seeing The Favourite, the new Emma Stone film. Seeing The Front Runner, the new film from... Fuck me, I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, dear.
One sec. I'm stupid. Hold on, sorry.
I mean, the point is, you are seeing a lot.
Seeing The Front Runner, which is supposed to be really good, and it's starring Hugh Jackman. I totally forgot his name for some reason. I have no idea how. And then also I'm seeing If Beale Street Could Talk, the new of Moonlight, and The Old Man and the Gun, which I'm super excited for, from Robert Redford. Beautiful Boy with Timothée Chalamet. Mandy, the new Nick Cage film. is a new Keira Knightley film, A Private War, and then I'm going to see The Sisters Brothers, the new Joaquin Phoenix film. Then I'm going to attempt to try and go to some of the press screenings for the films I'm missing, and that is I'm going to try and see Nicole Kidman's new film Destroyer, then Assassination Nation, and Stan and Ollie. I just wasn't able to get tickets before, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to see those films. Room in the cinema, I'll be able to see those, and I'll let you know obviously in the next few weeks, because it's a 10-day festival and I want to be there every day watching films. I'm so excited. I'm sure I'll have reviews up very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Ben will do plenty of kind of little roundups in the next sort of episode or so when everything's kind of come to a conclusion at BFI. Unfortunately, I won't be going because I just can't. But I wish I could, because obviously it is very local to me. Well, local within a sense. Obviously, unlike Zurich, this is actually in my country. But I live quite significantly far out from London, whereas Ben is very close to London, so he's able to kind of get there within sort of half an hour, 40 minutes. Whereas for me, I'd have to get like a 2-hour train journey, and that's only with a very expensive train. So for me, it's not very possible. But Ben will be back with the next sort of couple episodes reporting on what he's got and what he's seen. And obviously, there are, as you've noticed by that list that he just said, a lot of exciting stuff is there. So I'm sure that we'll all be very excited to hear what he saw and his thoughts on those films. So that draws a close to the third episode of Real Movie Talk. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to share this around with anybody else who you feel may enjoy our Real Movie Talk here on this show. And also give it a like to give us some support, show us the love. And if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe and also hit the bell icon so you don't miss an episode every single Monday when these episodes go up. And with all that said, we hope to see you guys again next week.